Imagine meeting someone who could kill you in just a few seconds. No police, no laws, no witnesses, just two strangers standing face to face in the middle of the wilderness. For almost all of human history, that wasn't rare. It was one of the most dangerous moments in a person's life. You have never had to trade with someone who could easily kill you instead. You have never stood at the edge of your territory, holding out a simple piece of stone, hoping the stranger understood. Take this, not my life, but somewhere inside your brain, the machinery for that moment still exists. The part that notices an open hand before it notices a smile. The part that quietly asks, friend or enemy? Because trusting the wrong stranger could get you killed, but refusing to trust anyone could be even worse. It could mean starvation, isolation, or the end of your family. So how did complete strangers learn not to kill each other? And how did that one decision eventually create trade, marriage, civilization, and even the simple handshake you still use today? The answer begins long before history was ever written. Before humans trusted each other, they first needed a way to recognize each other. Around 160,000 years ago, on the southern coast of Africa, early humans began collecting something unusual. Not food, not weapons, not tools. A simple red mineral, known today as ochre. At first glance, it doesn't seem valuable. You can't eat it, you can't hunt with it, you can't build a shelter from it. So why carry it for hundreds of kilometers? Archaeologists believe the answer wasn't survival. It was communication. People carefully ground ochre into a fine red powder. They painted their bodies, decorated objects, and perhaps marked themselves with symbols that other groups could recognize. For the first time, a stranger could look at someone and see more than just an unknown face. They could see a shared identity. In 2007, archaeologist Curtis Marin and his team uncovered evidence at Pinnacle Point in South Africa showing that humans were deliberately processing ochre nearly 164,000 years ago. Even more remarkable, similar ochre has been discovered hundreds of kilometers away from its natural source. That means it traveled from one group to another, hand to hand, across landscapes far larger than any single tribe could have explored alone. No written language, no maps, no governments. Yet somehow, these people had already begun building something invisible, a network powered by trust. Because sometimes, the first step toward peace wasn't putting down your spear. It was recognizing that the stranger standing in front of you wasn't completely different after all, but symbols carved into stone could only travel so far. Humans needed something they could carry with them, something that could silently tell a stranger, I belong, and that's exactly what happened. Around 75,000 years ago, inside Blombos Cave, on the southern coast of Africa, archaeologists uncovered one of humanity's oldest pieces of jewelry, tiny shell beads. Each shell had been carefully pierced by hand, then threaded onto a leather cord. These weren't decorations made for beauty alone, because the shells themselves came from the sea. Yet many were found, far away from the coastline. That meant they had traveled, not by rivers, not by animals, but by people, from one group to another. Research led by archaeologist Christopher Henshelwood showed these shell beads were deliberately crafted and worn by early humans. Later, anthropologist Mary Steiner suggested they may have served a much bigger purpose. Imagine meeting a complete stranger in a world without passports, without flags, without a shared language. The very first thing you notice is the necklace around their neck. It looks exactly like yours. Suddenly, that stranger isn't completely unknown anymore. That tiny necklace quietly says, we share something. We understand the same symbols, maybe, we're not enemies. A shell bead could communicate something that even a spear never could. Trust, without speaking a single word. And over thousands of years, those small symbols became something much larger. The foundation of alliances, trade, friendship, and eventually, civilizations built not just on survival, but on cooperation. But symbols alone couldn't guarantee peace. A necklace could signal friendship. A painted symbol could show identity. But neither one could stop two hungry tribes from turning against each other. Humans needed something stronger, something that could transform strangers into family. And they found it: marriage. For a long time, scientists believed ancient hunter-gatherer groups lived almost entirely with close relatives, small families, moving together, surviving together. But modern research tells a very different story. Anthropologist Kim Hill spent years studying hunter-gatherer societies whose lifestyles closely resemble those of our prehistoric ancestors. What he discovered surprised researchers. Inside a typical camp, only a small percentage of adults were actually close blood relatives. Most relationships had been created through marriage. One person married into another group. Then their children connected two families. Those children later married into even more groups. Generation after generation, tiny family connections expanded into enormous social networks. Not dozens of people, not hundreds, but sometimes more than 1,000 individuals spread across vast landscapes. Suddenly, a stranger wasn't just a stranger anymore. He might be your cousin's family, your wife's brother, your child's grandfather. Attacking another tribe no longer meant attacking outsiders. It could mean attacking your own relatives, without writing, without governments, without formal treaties. Marriage quietly became one of humanity's first peace agreements. Not because people suddenly became kinder, but because every new family connection made war a little more expensive and peace a little more valuable. Family created peace. But what happened when family lived hundreds of miles away? What if a drought destroyed your land? What if your animals disappeared? What if your children had nothing left to eat? Long before banks, long before money, humans invented something far more powerful: a relationship that could be saved for the future. Anthropologist Polly Wiesner spent decades studying the Yu-Huanzi people of the Kalahari Desert. She documented an ancient tradition called zero. At first, it doesn't even look like trade. Imagine giving someone your best stone knife or a carefully made necklace. They don't pay you back tomorrow. They don't owe you the same item. Sometimes, they don't return anything for months. Or even years. Strange, isn't it? But that was the whole point. The gift wasn't buying an object. It was building a relationship. A promise that quietly said, if one day you need me, I'll be there. Months later, maybe years later, a drought arrives. Your hunting grounds fail. Your family is starving. So you begin walking, not towards strangers, but towards someone who still remembers your gift. Someone who welcomes you, shares food, offers water, and gives your family another chance to survive. That simple exchange became one of humanity's first insurance systems, not written on paper, not protected by laws, but stored inside memory, inside trust, inside people. Because in the ancient world, the greatest wealth wasn't gold. It wasn't land. It wasn't power. It was knowing that somewhere beyond the horizon, someone still considered you a friend. So, what does all of this tell us? For a long time, people imagined that ancient humans lived in one of two worlds. Either a peaceful world, interrupted by war, or a violent world, interrupted by peace. But archaeology tells a very different story. The truth is, both worlds existed, at exactly the same time. When food was plentiful, when rivers flowed, when hunting was good, and people could move freely. The rewards favored cooperation. Families grew, gifts were exchanged, trade routes expanded, strangers became friends. The circle of us slowly became larger. But when the land began to dry, when food disappeared, when the only water source was shared by everyone, everything changed. The very same brain that built friendships could also build enemies. The same memory that remembered gifts could remember revenge. The same intelligence that planned trade routes could organize raids. It wasn't two different kinds of humans. It was the same human mind responding to two completely different worlds. And perhaps that's the most important lesson our ancestors left behind. Peace was never automatic. Neither was war. Both were choices, made by the same brain, depending on the world around it. And maybe nothing has really changed. Today, we don't fight over watering holes or hunting grounds, but every single day, our brains still ask the exact same ancient question. Is this person one of us or one of them? Every handshake, every friendship, every act of kindness quietly pushes that invisible line a little farther away, because thousands of years later, the oldest decision humanity ever learned to make is still being made by every one of us, every single day. If you enjoyed this journey into humanity's ancient past, subscribe to Humley and join me in the next chapter of our story. Because the past isn't gone, it's still living inside you.